Hmm. Perfect. Oh, now I'm tangled again. I really wish I would stop doing that. There we go. Sorry, chat, my chair is really squeaky. Here we go. Oh my gosh, so squeaky. So squeaky. So. Alright, we'll wait a little bit. My stomach is so unsettled. Looks like I've summoned the sassy. Potentially. You have indeed arrived. Ayy. Well, as promised, today is Wendigo Day. Yo, Chaos, what's up? Oh, what sort of Eldritch Horror have I summoned? Oh, here we go. Coming back from dinner, not much, just getting back from the ER. Those are very two different things. Are you good, dude? Were you the patient? Is everything okay? Do you need anything? Just helping Dad build his new pet project, a shed, and accidentally nail-gunned your hand. Oh. 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 God. So typing might be more what the fuck since you're typing with one hand. Hey, take your time. No matter how long it takes to type, just, you know, be easy with that hand. I guess you could say you nailed it. Hi, Thunder King. Oh, fuck. I hate that I laughed at that. Same hand you cut with the buzzsaw. You just need a titanium gauntlet for that hand, dog. Oh, I hate myself for laughing at that, but that was good. Oh, jeez. Why did I Google sedition? Well, I Googled sedition. Yeah, so I have a whole bunch of wind. Hold on. Wind. Nope. Wind. Nope. So what did I think was happening in this? Funny enough, I didn't feel or notice, looked down and was just like, oh, Dad, I nail gunned my hand, heard him yell, do you what? I actually asked him if I should go to the hospital. I have a similar experience. I have a few similar experiences, actually. Last week I tried to type Wendigo on my phone and it autocorrected to sedition. Right! That did happen. Tales of world creation. Tales of human creation. Sound of flutes. Tale of love and lost. What the fuck is this? War in the Warrior Code. Monsters and Monster Slayers. Kanyan Tonka, the Great Thunderbird. Ooh, that's not the thing of today. Trickster Tales. Animals. Ghosts. Here we go. Dolphin's Ghost, Skeleton, Pequot Chinook. No, no, no. My gods. Okay, there's 0 in here. Pain hit at the hospital? Yep. Adrenaline is a silly bitch. Oh, very. Okay, so when I was in college, people who have been here a very long time probably know the story. This happened in... It had to be late 2018 because I remember some of what I was thinking and I was so sleep deprived. So it was during finals week, 2018. And I was driving my 2006 Toyota Camry, who we ironically named Cream Puff because of how smooth her engine was. Oof. So I was in traffic coming up from the city. Back to, where I live, which is not the city. And there was some traffic, so I wasn't going very quick. And then the traffic let up and, everyone sped up, and I didn't. My car kind of just kept puttering along, and then suddenly every light on the dashboard turned on, and I just came to the realization that I was not going to move. And cars are speeding past me, behind me, quickly. And I remember I call my dad, perfectly calm, and I go, hey Dad, here's the situation, should I call 911? And he was just like, yeah, that warrants a 911 call. So I call 911. And it just didn't, I was chill until it was over, and then I realized, I could have gotten rear-ended and seriously gotten hurt. I didn't leave the car or anything like that. The safest thing is always to stay in your car. You never leave your car in a situation like that unless your car is on fire. Then, fucking leave your car. Yeah, adrenaline is silly. Think all my chaos is coming back to bite me. I've cut my hand with a buzzsaw, nail gunned your hand, been shot at, and hit by a car all in the span of 5 years. Who the fuck shot at you? Who hit you with a car? When was... This has all been since I've known you? When I was 10, I swam for 3 hours with a broken wrist and a fractured elbow. Then we had lunch, and when I tried to eat a forkful of mac, that's when mine hit me. Oh my god. Ow. Why wasn't it you? Why wasn't it... What was it? Huh? Who the hell shot at you? Oh, that was shot at. Oh, that makes more sense. Well, no. If any... Oh. God, if any of you were shot at... The guy hated your driving and shot at you? Jesus Christ. While I was in the parking lot of a Walmart, a minivan smacked into me and kept going. Oh my God. Road rage is scary. People get so weird when they drive sometimes. How can you hit someone and keep going? Like, so like my mom has OCD, and I probably do too. She is like so paranoid that she's gonna hit somebody with a car, her car, and not realize. And I go, Ma, you feel it when you run over a branch. You know when you hit a person. It makes noise. You feel it. Like, you can't, that you know about it. I don't understand people who can just walk away. My God. Then again, you are in Texas. To be fair, the 16-year-old in the minivan panicked when he backed up and then threw it into drive and just sped off. I mean, I guess that's a mitigating factor, but oh my God. He panicked when he backed up and threw it into drive and sped off. Oh. I can't do the chime. Ah! Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, if you hit somebody with your car on accident, can you be charged for that? No, I think you just have to, like, pay the insurance shit, right? Happy Lunar New Year, Thunder Kitty. You got a fight with a deer. That one I believe. That one I can understand. Good Lord. Deer are so stupid sometimes. I will say that. Deer are foolish. Foolish, foolish, foolish. Good. How did that go, though? There are actual court hearings, too. Oh, well, yeah. I bet there are court hearings, but I don't think you do, like, jail time. It's more like you settle. You go camping and a deer thinks he can take a fully grown man. Deer are pretty stupid. My brother had his license revoked and is still trying to get it back. Wait. Hold on. Oh, Lord, forgive me for my internet. This is an incognito search for sure. I'm already on a list. It's fine. What happens if you accidentally hit someone with your car? I accidentally hit a pedestrian in New York City. What should I do? Okay, here we go. Get a lawyer, apparently. Can you go to jail? If you hit someone, the repercussions can be anything from paying a fine, facing criminal charges, to even losing your license. Okay, yeah. So it runs the gamut. You've lived a boring life. Shut the fuck up. My god. When was this, in the spring, Chaos? A nail gun at your disposal to fight against the deer? Christ. You might need to compensate the injured party. Compensation in this case will be made with regard to medical bills incurred. Okay, that's what I would expect. Medical bills, loss of employment or wages, pain and suffering, both physical and emotional, among other claims. Oh, and then if somebody dies. If you were not committing a criminal offense at the time, then you might not be jailed. 2019 was the deer issue. I mean, that's the year. I did say time of year, didn't I? I meant what season, like spring, summer, like was he in rut? That's on me. I asked the question wrong. During the summer? Yeah, that's why. Homeboy was trying to show off to the ladies. Dumbass. Only reason he wasn't sentenced was because there was more than one vehicle involved in the whole incident. He struck the other car, trying to avoid the one in front of him. Yeah, that... multi-car accidents are just a clusterfuck. My father was in one recently. He was the third car in, like... You know when people tailgate and they hit the car in front of them? So... Car A was tailgating Car B. So Car A hit Car B, and then Car B rolled forward due to the force with which Car A hit Car B and hit Car C. And Car C was at a red light, and Car C was my dad. Dad was fine. Car B had the airbags go off. And Car A was in a heap of trouble, because that one's pretty cut and dry. That one was clearly his fault. And my dad was at a stoplight. There was nothing he could do. But yeah, no. Those multi-car accidents, man. Those are the stuff of nightmares. If you happen to hit a pedestrian by mistake, stop and follow the required protocol. You might get a lenient sentence. In most cases, you'll just face a personal injury lawsuit. On the other hand, should you choose to flee, you'll assert, yeah, that makes sense. And then if you're under the influence, you aren't supposed to do that, and that's where a large amount of... Wait, that's where a large amount of my road rage comes from. Get off my ass, because I don't have... Oh, yeah. You know what I do, Sassy? I do something. When I feel like somebody is tailgating me... Well, my mother slows down, which is not what you're supposed to do. Because that'll make them even angrier, potentially. But they may decide to pass you, so you could get out of it that way. What I do is I turn on my hazards, and I just flash them in the face for as long as they can take it, until they realize that I'm a nervous wreck, or they're just like, fuck this, and pass me. I had a guy tailgating me, hit the back of my truck. Fun fact, a 1997 Ford F-50 is metal. A 2021 new car is made of paper. Oh, you go slower? That doesn't surprise me at all. Yep, it all paints a picture. This all makes sense. Yep. I mean, when I'm feeling particularly angry, I will also go slower. But I tend to try to just annoy people out of being dicks first. But that's because actually I've had that weaponized on me. I was driving south from Rochester. I was going home. And I was going 10 miles above the speed limit. The speed limit was like, oh fuck, it was like 65 or something. Maybe it was 70, I don't know. And I was going like 70-ish. Probably less than that. I know my truck is metal. Nothing's gonna beat that shit besides a Nokia phone. Oh, hell yeah, for sure. So I was going 70. The people around me were going 90. Right. So I've got these, and I'm in the left lane because I'm like, I'm going 70, and the next exit that I have to take is like 300 miles away or some shit. Fun fact to add to that fun fact, I did that to a guy in my cult. It was the only cult in the area. So 3 days later, I was behind him, and he returned the favor. However, I didn't have anywhere to be, so I didn't care. Yeah, that's how I am with people. Where like they slow down in front of me, I'm like, all right, I leave early. I left extra time. I'm fine. But so these people were blasting by me at 90, 100 mile an hour, maybe more. Like, I was going 70, and they were racing by me like I was standing still. So they had to be going at least, 30 miles an hour more than me. One of them decided he did not like my speed because it was too slow. So he swings out from behind me. He swings out into... No, I wasn't in the left lane. I was in the center lane. I was in the motherfucking central lane. I don't know what the fuck his problem was. He swings out from behind me to the right lane, passes me on the right, swings in front of me, and slams his brakes while thrusting the middle finger out the driver's window. So obviously I had to brake, which was kind of funny because that's why he was mad, because I wasn't going fast enough. And he starts pointing to the right lane, and I'm like, at this point, it's like northwestern New York. It's kind of gun country. And I kind of go, alright, like, this isn't worth it. Let me just get into the right lane and just keep my pace. There's not a lot of people on the road. Let's just not get shot. So there I was, rolling along the right lane, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid, because I'm just going to make it harder for anyone who needs to merge on. Like, whatever, but I'm not going back there, because Mr. Road Rage is going to kill me. Come down to Texas, 80 is standing still. Yeah, it was that kind of thing. And it was just like, okay. The kicker was, a couple miles down, there was traffic. And somehow, I ended up in front of this dipshit while going slower. Oh, and he gave me the dirtiest glare. I was just following the fucking signs. I was fine. Oh my god. But it's... Man. Oh, it's not here either. Okay. That's the best. Oh, yeah. That's the best kind of driving karma there is. But, oh, man. Adrenaline can do just dumb shit to your body. I think... Well, there was one time... I must have told both of you guys by now the story of how I got stuck in a bog once, right? A peat bog. Well, I got out. I did live. I did live. I've never had road rage before. I haven't either. How does it feel? I've been angry in a car, but I haven't had road rage. I feel like the two are different. Like, I've been annoyed or offended while in a car. Like, if someone cuts me off without signaling, like, that'll piss me off a little. But I've never had rage. I've just had, like, the fuck you cunt sort of, you know, response. I was following 3 water trucks and some guy was being a jackass, so I slowed down and he went flying around me. First passing zone we came to, asshole was stuck between me and the water trucks for the last 7 miles into town. Oh, that's my favorite. I love it when people do that to me, where they're like, go faster, and I'm like, I'm limited by the guy in front of me, and they're like, oh, fine, and then they cut me off, and they're now behind the slow truck, and I'm like, see? Didn't have much of a choice now, did we? Fucking idiot. Are you asking me? Yeah? I mean, I've been, like, the thing is, too, is it's hard to get me raging as well. Like, when I'm legitimately furious, I tend to get cold and calculating. I don't tend to get, like, explosive, like, aggression. It's scarier than that, I guess. I can be aggressive at times, but it's not the default. I'm like, yeah, got real far there, didn't you, prick? The extra 10 seconds worth it for you, right? It's dumb. And then it ends up costing them time and gas money, because, like, then, you know. Holy shit, I have a 298-page book all about Wendigos. Holy shit. I've been mad once in my life, only once, and it scared everyone. Yeah. I could see that from you. I get frustrated. I don't often get angry. When I do get angry, it's very scary. And then I get sick. I always get sick after I get angry. It's like my body doesn't know how to handle it. Is this book entirely made of pictures? What the fuck is this? Sorry, I'm like prepping. Oh, Sassy! I meant to tell you. Not because I yelled or screamed. According to my friends, I just said okay and gave a look like you're about to wake up with a dead horse head next to your bed, and that's the only the beginning. Yeah, you get cold rage too, I think. Because I get quiet, I get still, I get cold. And I get serious. And three things that'll insta set me off. Pulling out in front of me, forcing me to slam my brakes when there isn't a soul behind me. Riding my ass with LEDs on high and not fucking moving because you're checking your phone at the light when it turns green. Okay. I'll try not to do that around you. Every once in a while I do it if I'm waiting on something important. Or I'll be looking at my phone on a red, but not often. It drives me crazy when my father does it. It said if looks could kill, my look was a nuke. Yep. Yep, that's what you can expect from me, too. I would appreciate that. Oops. Pulling out in front of me, forcing you to slam my brakes when there isn't a soul behind me. Yeah, that also would annoy me. I'm like, what, you couldn't wait the extra 3 seconds? Like, come on, man. LEDs on high. It gives me a headache, but I kind of forgive it, because I'm like, what if you're old and you can't see? Well, you shouldn't be driving anyway, but... rip. I guess I'll just deal. Like, I don't know why it doesn't make me angry. It should. It should make me angry. What? I'm trying to think what driving things make me angry. I'm pretty tolerant. I didn't realize this. Not a lot gets to me. Who the fuck has the index at the beginning? This is entirely the wrong section. Why the hell is there a manual on Krav Maga in the Native American mythology section? Wolfie made a mistake. I was downloading them at about the same time, wasn't I? My pet peeves are one thing and one thing only. It's a turn signal, use them. That also grinds my gears. No, you're right, Chaos. That's the one I wasn't thinking of. It makes me so mad. Even when it doesn't matter, I'm like, just fucking use them. Just fucking communicate. You don't know who's behind you. You shouldn't be right on the tail of the person in front of you. Never. Ever, ever. I should have to adjust all 3 of my mirrors so I can see because I'm being blinded from head on. Oh, and your periffs. Well, so if someone has their high beams and are tailgating you, that's inescapable. I thought you meant if they have their high beams on and they're, like, a reasonable distance. Because, like, that you can work. But if somebody has their highs and they're on your ass, well, first of all, you should never be on somebody's ass. Like, if they stop short, what are you gonna do? You're fucked. High beams behind me don't bother me because I have lights pointing behind me on my truck and just turn those on when someone has my high... Yeah, I kind of do something similar with my hazards where I'm just like, oh, you know, you want me to move faster. Let me just put on my aposomatic coloring so that you know that I'm not gonna deal with this shit. Gods. Why are there so few things on the Wendigo? I have a few. I was just seeing if I could find more. No riding my ass with LEDs on high. Absolutely unnecessary. Oh, yes, I did. I wrote the story about paying for parking at the, for hiking. You want to ride my ass? Well, you're going to learn what trucks are made of back of the 90s. Hell yeah. No, I hate it when people... Just riding my ass in general, regardless of high beams or not. Like, I just don't want you that close to my ass. I just don't want you on my ass. My ass is a sacred space where nothing goes. Ever. Just leave it alone. Nothing needs to be there. Oh, this is just a dictionary. That doesn't help me much. That's an amazing statement, what did I say? Sorry, I got distracted by myself. Which happens a lot. It happens more than it should. My ass is a sacred place where nothing should go. Okay, yeah. That is true, though. Oh, God. The number of people I have unironically snarled at for getting too close to... Oh, my God. You don't want to go there unless you want to die. And a new card is born. Yeah. No. That is not... Yeah, we... No. Nothing goes there and lives to tell the tale. That, you know... There are certain things that you defend in life. You don't tailgate me, and let alone go near my ass, ever. Good lord. Belief and ritual, Navajos... Navajo, Lenape. What the fuck is this? Religious traditions. Lenape. Well, oh, yeah, no, that has it in it. Mythology of Native North America. Wichita. See this. Spirit beings. Deer woman, sky woman, thunderbird. Nope, nothing on the Wendigo. My girlfriend is one of those that say the most risky things while driving. Do you mean risque or actually risky? I'm almost afraid to ask for an example, but I kind of want one. Alright, I have exhausted all of my resources. What I have on the Wendigo is what I'm gonna get. Alright, you ready, kids? So, here's a website I found. It's from an EDU. PSU. Penn State. Oh, Penn State. Oh, here we go. Someone tailgating her, and she goes out the window as the person drives past her. If you're gonna ride my ass, then at least pull my... Both risky and risque. Oh, your girlfriend is the best. You did well for yourself, Chaos. You did well. Oh, man. No. God, if Falcon's driving, she'll often... Well, Falcon's driving, no one's tailgating us, because if Falcon's driving, we're probably speeding. Not probably. Sometimes. That's unfair to Falcon. Sometimes we're speeding. You're a bad influence on her. I've seen that as a bumper sticker. That's amazing. I would like that bumper sticker. I gotta find it. Chaos, you're a bad influence on me, and I cherish every second of it. We're chaotic good in this house. Alright. On Wendigos. Unless anyone else has any overriding thingies. But I did promise Wendigos, and I'm a wolf of my word. Usually. Alright. So this is from Penn State. This was an article that I thought was pretty good. Here we go. Hold on, I had a thought. Wendigo. Alright, here we go. The Algonquin tribes of North America. Out of these... Wait, what? Oh, I started in the middle of a sentence. We're headed back this week. This is apparently a British person writing this, because back west this week does not make sense from Penn State, which is on the East Coast, talking about East Coast tribes. All the way to the Algonquin tribes of North America. Out of these tribes come some of the oldest folklore around. The myth of the Wendigo. As with most mythology, there are many different versions of the Wendigo. Sometimes they are considered demons, other times monsters of the forest. But the most common lore states that Wendigos are creatures who were once human, and because of greed or hunger, they betrayed the laws of nature to get what they wanted. In most cases, this betrayal of nature refers to cannibalism, giving name to the term Wendigo psychosis, an intense desire to consume human flesh. Wendigos are typically associated with winter because of how cold and hunger could often lead a human to do the unthinkable. Instead of facing a famine with resignation and a readiness for death, as was considered the proper response, a tribesman would resort to eating his own kin. Doing so would have caused him to be isolated from the tribe. Once deep into the forest, he would transform into a Wendigo. It is unclear whether Wendigos are living, undead, or spiritual creatures. Generally, it is assumed that they are some of each. Algonquin legend states that eating human flesh gives the consumer special powers: enhanced hearing, sight, speed, and strength. However, once they take the first bite, they begin to crave more and more, until their hunger becomes their entire existence. Each time they eat a human, the Wendigo's body is said to grow in proportion to their meal, expanding their stomach and never allowing them to be full. Therefore, Wendigos are portrayed as simultaneously gluttonous and emancipated. Emancipated? Emancipated? The sentence is gluttonous and emancipated from starvation, which I guess, but I think they meant emaciated. I don't think that's it. Yeah. I kind of went, Do you mean not that word? Emaciated, yeah. Which starts with an E as well, so like... somebody didn't check their, autocorrect. Emancipated from starvation. As they continue to survive this way, feeding day after day on their own kind and never able to satiate their hunger, their bodies would begin to decay and transform into something less than human. Basil Johnson, an Obiwi teacher from Ontario, provides us with this description. The Wendigo is gaunt to the point of emaciation. Oh, see? You know how to spell it over here. Well, I guess this is a quote. Its desiccated skin pulled tautly over its bones. With its bones pushing out against its skin, its complexion, the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton, recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from suppurations of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. Hello? Oh, there we go. Well, if autocorrect didn't stop me, it probably didn't stop them either. That's fair. As I mentioned earlier, cannibalism wasn't the only way a person could become a Wendigo. That was by far the most common. Alternatively, a person could become possessed by the spirit of a Wendigo, becoming violent and cannibalistic. Some tribes believed all it took was to be excessively selfish and greedy. Either way, the fear of the Wendigo was a strong deterrent against cannibalism, and a great proponent of tribal unity. The taboo against such Wendigo-esque actions was so great that a ceremony was created in order to reinforce it. The ceremony, known as Windiko Kaan Jimoin. I butchered that, probably, sorry. Was performed during times of famine, and involved wearing masks and dancing backwards around a drum. The last known Wendigo ceremony in the USA was conducted by the Leech Lake Indian Reservation in northern Minnesota. Hold on. Oh. Hold on. Ugh, god damn it, TikTok. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there's something called the Wendigo Dancers, or the Wendigo Con. I saw it briefly in one of the dictionaries I was skimming through, and I thought it was worth a mention. Among the plains of Jubwa, the Wendigo Con is a ceremonial clown who acts in a contrary manner. The name of this personage derives from the Wendigo, a mythical cannibal giant with an ice heart, which is found in the mythology of most of the peoples of the Algonquin linguistic stock of the Northeast. The Wendigo Dancer is furthermore associated with the Thunder Spirit, in a similar way as the Heyoka of Lakota, who obtains his role of ceremonial buffoon from a vision of the thunder. The Wendigo Con dancers formed a sacred society, which assembled all the individuals who had a visionary experience with the Thunder Spirit. They wear masks with a typical long hanging nose. Yeah, I guess you could call that a nose. A costume made of rags, and in several occasions behave in ways contrary to the norm, especially during the main ceremonies like the sun dance. In certain groups, the Wendigo Dancers Association includes a character known as the Hunter, distinguishable by a prominent humped back and holding crooked bow and arrows in his hands, weapons which cannot be used effectively. The ritual clowns are particularly known for their curing abilities, as well as their joking and disrespectful attitudes. In recent years, their participation in the Sundance ceremony has progressively intensified. Their mask is something else. It looks... I'm not going to show it on stream just because it looks a little phallic. It's interesting. Bro's out here looking like Squidward. Yeah, it does actually. I didn't notice it before, but now that you say it, no, it actually does look a lot like Squidward. Alright, here we go. Now we're on to the Wikipedia article. Wendigo is a mythological icon. I can speak. Wendigo Wendigo is mythological motherfucking is a mythological creature of or evil spirit originating from the folklore of the Plains and Great Lakes natives, as well as some of the First Nations. It is based in and around the east coast forests of Canada, the Great Plains regions of the United States, and the Great Lakes region of the United States and Canada. Grouped in modern ethnology as speakers of the Algonquin family languages. I call bullshit. It's a lot of the east coast of the U.S. as well. Okay. The Wendigo is often said to be a malevolent spirit, sometimes depicted as a creature with human-like characteristics which possessed human beings. The Wendigo is said to invoke feelings of insatiable greed or hunger, the desire to cannibalize other humans, and the propensity to commit murder in those that fall under its influence. In some representations, the Wendigo is described as a giant humanoid with a heart of ice, a foul stench or a sudden unseasonable chill. Unreasonable. I mean, yeah. A chill might precede its approach. Possibly because of long-time identification by European Americans with their own myths about werewolves. For example, as mentioned in the Jesuit Relations below, Hollywood film representations often label human-beast hybrids featuring antlers or horns with the Wendigo name. But such animal features do not appear in the original indigenous stories. In modern psychiatry, the Wendigo lends its name to a form of psychosis known as Wendigo psychosis, which is characterized by symptoms such as intense craving for human flesh and an intense fear of becoming a cannibal. Wendigo psychosis is described as a culture-bound syndrome. In some First Nation communities, other symptoms such as insatiable greed and destruction of environment are also thought to be symptoms of Wendigo psychosis. Culture-bound syndrome? Huh. Interesting. Etymology. The word appears in many Native American languages and has many alternative translations. The source of the English word is the Ojibwe word Windigu. Windigu. In the Cree language, it is Whitikau, also translated Wetiko. Okay. Other transliterations include Windigu, Windigo, Windigo, Windgoo, Windgo, Windago, Windiga, Wendigo, Windigoo, Ouijago, 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 again, Ouijago, Ouijago, Wintigo, Wentigo, Wendigo, Wentico, Windigoe, Wetico, and Winsigo. A plural form, Windigoag. They're just making shit up now. It definitely has a feel of Luigi board. It's got that flavor a little bit. A plural form, Windigoag, is also spelled Windigoag, Windigooag, or Windicoak. Windicoak. Windicoak? Windigoag? I don't know. The Proto-Algonquin term has been reconstructed as Wintecoa, which might have meant owl. Which might have meant owl? Like hoot hoot? Yup. Okay. The Wet'suga is a similar being that appears in the legends of the Athabascan people of the Northwest Pacific Coast. It too is cannibalistic, however it is characterized as enlightened with ancestral insights. That's weird. Okay. Folklore. The Wendigo is part of the traditional belief system of a number of Algonquin-speaking peoples, including the Ojibwe, oh god, please forgive me, the Saulteaux, the Salteaux, the Plains Ojibwe, the Cree, the Naskapi, and the Innu. Although descriptions can vary somewhat, common to all these cultures is the view that the Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic, supernatural being. They were strongly associated with winter, the north, coldness, famine, and starvation. In Ojibwe, Eastern Cree, West Main Swampy Cree, Naskapi, and Innu lore, Wendigos are often described as giants that are many times larger than human beings, a characteristic absent from the myths of other Algonquin cultures. Whenever a Wendigo ate another person, it would grow in proportion to the meal it had just eaten, so it could never be full. Therefore, Wendigos are portrayed as simultaneously gluttonous and extremely thin due to starvation. Yeah, definitely not emancipated from starvation. The Wendigo is seen as the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and excess, never satisfied after killing and consuming one person. They're constantly searching for new victims. A Wendigo need not lose the person's powers of cognition or speech, and in some depictions may clearly communicate with its prospective victims, or even threaten and taunt them. A specimen of folk story collected in the early 20th century by Lottie Chickaquaw Marston, an ethnographer of the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, in which a Wendigo also exhibits tool use, an ability to survive partial dismemberment, and auto-cannibalism, reads. Wait, when was this? Ojibwe Myths and Tales. Hello? Can I has? Oh shit, no, don't port me away! Oh, or I can do the thing that... No! Don't! No! Fuck! Oh, well now I've done it. Alright, hold on. I could just scroll down to the thing. Diddle-a-doo. 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 Da-na, da-na, da-na-na. Yeah, da-da-da-da. What the fuck? Where is this thing? I know where to find thee. Probably. Libgen. Oh, ignore that I said that. I didn't say anything. Ah, bitch. Ah, bitch times 3. Alright. Oh, this one's a tough nut to crack. Oh, mother... father. Alright. Yeah, alright, let me try that again. I don't want that because it's not going to be there. Shit, it's not there either. Wow, okay. Let's probably old as fuck is the problem. Well, that person probably knows the thing. Sorry. Oh, fuck, it's not here. It's on Forgotten Books, though. That's weird. I trust Archive with this more. Yep. Oh, it's only 28 pages. All that work for only 28 pages? Oh, son of a bitch. Ah, crap. Alright, well, where was it? Story number 104. God fucking shit. There's no way there's 104 here. Ah, this isn't even the right thing. Shit. Well, this is confusing. Sorry, chat. I've gone down a rabbit hole. Annual archaeological... So it's a journal article? Oh, well that's misleading as shit. Okay. Alright, I'll read it out of the Wikipedia. Sorry, I thought I could make something better, but I couldn't. Alright. A specimen of folk story collected in the early 20th century by Lottie Marston, an ethnographer of the Chippewa... Really? Yeah, okay. An ethnographer of the Chippewas and the Rama First Nation, in which Wendigo also exhibits tool use and ability to survive partial dismemberment and auto-cannibalism, reads, "One time long ago, a big Wendigo stole an Indian boy, but the boy was too thin. So the Wendigo didn't eat him up right away, but he traveled with the Indian boy, waiting for him till he'd get fat. The Wendigo had a knife, and he'd cut the boy on the hand to see if he was fat enough to eat, but the boy didn't get fat. They traveled too much. One day they came to a Native American village, and the Wendigo sent the boy to the village to get some things for him to eat. He just gave the boy so much time to go there and back. The boy told the Native Americans that the Wendigo was near them, and showed them his hand, where the Wendigo cut him to see if he was fat enough to eat. They heard the Wendigo calling the boy. They said to the boy, 'Hurry up. Don't tell lies.' Oh, the Wendigo calling to the boy, saying to him, 'Hurry up. Don't tell lies to those people.' All those people went to where the Wendigo was and cut off his legs. They went back again to see if he was dead. He was not dead. He was eating the marrow from the inside of the bones of his legs that were cut off. The people asked the Wendigo if there was any fat on them. He said, 'You bet there is. I've eaten lots of you. No wonder they are fat.' The Native Americans then killed him and cut him to pieces. The end of this giant Wendigo. In some traditions, humans overpowered by greed could turn into Wendigos. The myth thus served as a method of encouraging cooperation and moderation. Other sources say that Wendigos were when a human resorted to cannibalism to survive. Humans could also turn into Wendigos by being in contact with them for too long. Oh, I don't know why this reminded me of this, but Sassy, I've finally gotten around to eating the heaven cake you sent me. I don't taste a difference from last time. It is still heavenly, it is still pure. I still love it, and it gives me such joy to wake up to in the morning. But it's not going to turn me into a Wendigo, I think. Probably. It just makes my entire house smell really good. It should be textural. Oh, textural rather than flavor. Oh, the texture. It's less smooth? Like, there's something more grainy about it? I think? But I still love it, so I didn't even really notice it until you said texture. Man, I really love this wallpaper. I keep looking at it. Is my mouth backwards? Maybe mine is. Was it supposed to be smoother? Well, I ate part of the crust bit. That might be why. I just started it, so, like, I ate the crust bit of it first. And then I'm, like, working my way inward. So maybe it gets softer as you get to the center. I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know, man. Oh, here's a good one. This is from a book of Manitos, which goes through the Ojibwe spirits. I don't know if your mouth is backward. Maybe mine is. Was it supposed to be smoother? Was it supposed to be Softer? I noticed that the blend I had been using was made from rice flour, so the texture always felt like wet sand to me. No? It was pretty smooth. I still think it's smooth. Just like slightly less so now? Fuck, I should have been paying more attention. Shit, I was so focused on the taste. And then it tasted really good, so I got distracted and I just started enjoying the taste. And I forgot to pay attention to everything else. My brain. I don't know. It's just too good. I eat it and I stop worrying about everything. It just makes me happy. My brain, it hurts. Oh no. Chaos, what have I done? You poor thing. As long as you like it, that's what's important. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I love it so, so much. And that's why my feedback is completely useless. Because I'm like, okay, I gotta pay attention. I gotta find the difference. And then I eat it. And then I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I forget everything else. Oh. I would be the worst fucking... Oh, taste tester, food tester, like, people who give stars to restaurants. I would suck at that, because I would just be like, ooh, it's good. And then that's it. That's all the information you're getting from me, dog. Did Wolfie like it? Yes. Did Wolfie eat it? Yes. I don't know why. I was reading so much about the Wendigos eating, and I was like, oh, right, I was supposed to give you a review. And then I was just like, what was I supposed to tell her? I don't remember. Alright, here we go. Wendigo. Of the evil beings who dwelt on the periphery of the world of the, oh gosh, Anishinaabe peoples, none were more terrifying than the Wendigo. It was a creature loathsome to behold, and as loathsome in its habits, conduct, and manners. The Wendigo was a giant Manito, witch's spirit, in the form of a man or woman, who towered 5 to 8 times above the height of a tall man. I do want to remake that apple thing and change up the glaze. Yeah, that I could see. But the Wendigo was a giant in height only. In girth and strength, it was not. What? No, I read that right. Because it was afflicted with a never-ending hunger, and could never get enough to eat. It was always on the verge of starvation. The Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tautly over the bones. With its bones pushing against its skin, its complexion the ash-gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody from its constant chewing with the jagged teeth. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay, this was coded. Here we go. When the Wendigo set to attack a human being, a dark snow cloud would shroud its upper body from the waist up. The air would turn cold, so the trees crackled. Then a wind would rise, no more than a breath at first, but in moments, whining and driving, transformed into a blizzard. Behind the odor and the chill of death and the killing blizzard came the Wendigo. Even before the Wendigo laid hands on them, many people died in their tracks from fright. Just to see the Wendigo's sepulchral face was enough to induce heart failure and death. For others, the monster's shriek was more than they could bear. Those who died of fright were lucky. Their death was merciful and painless. But for those who had the misfortune to live through the terror, death was slow and agonizing. The Wendigo seized its victim and tore him or her limb from limb with its hands and teeth, eating the flesh and bones and drinking the blood while its victim screamed and struggled. The pain of others meant nothing to the Wendigo. All that mattered was its survival. The Wendigo gorged itself and glutted its belly as if it would never eat again. But a remarkable thing always occurred. As the Wendigo ate, it grew, and as it grew, so did its hunger, so that no matter how much it ate, its hunger always remained in proportion to its size. The Wendigo could never requite either its unnatural lust for human flesh or its unnatural appetite. It could never stop as animals do when bloated, unable to ingest another morsel, or sense as humans sense that enough is enough for the present. For the unfortunate Wendigo, the more it ate, the bigger it grew, and the bigger it grew, the more it wanted and needed. The Anishinaabe people had every reason to fear and abhor the Wendigo. It was a giant cannibal that fed only on human flesh, bones, blood. But the Wendigo presented not only the worst that a human could do to another human being, and ultimately to himself or herself, but exemplified other despicable traits. Even the term Wendigo evokes images of offensive traits. It might be derived from Wendogo, which means solely for self, or Wenindigio, Wenindigu, which means fat or excess. The Wendigo inspired fear. There was no human sanction or punishment to compare to death at the hands of a Wendigo. No threats more certain to bring about the exercise of moderation. The old people repeatedly warned, "Not too much. Think of tomorrow, next winter. Kegozaon. Bannock. Think of others. Balance, moderation, self-control." As long as men and women put the well-beings of their families and communities ahead of their own self-interests by respecting the rights of animals who dwelt as their continents on Mother Earth, offering tobacco and chants to Mother Earth and Kiti Manito as signs of gratitude and goodwill, and attempting to fulfill and live out their dreams and visions, they would instinctively know how to live in harmony and balance, and have nothing to fear of the Wendigo. If all men and women lived in moderation, the Wendigo and his brothers and sisters would starve and die out. But such is not the case. Human beings are just a little too inclined to self-indulgence, at times a shade too intemperate, for even the spectacle of the Wendigo to frighten them into deference. At root is selfishness, regarded by the Anishinaabe peoples as the worst human shortcoming. In the meantime, the Wendigo waited in the shadows, hungry to the point of collapse, and tormented by an unrelenting ache that was worse than any ache known to humans. Sooner or later, a man or woman would have to leave her camp or village and come within reach. Of this the Wendigo was certain, given the weakness and unchangeableness of human nature. But to suspend one's labor to rest and renew oneself, or take up another interest for self-growth, is not in and of itself bad. As Western Europeans say, all work and no play makes Jack or Jill dull. There's nothing harmful in humankind's inclination to rest, play, celebrate, feast, and pursue hobbies. The trouble is that people don't know when to stop and appear not to care, because nature, or Kitsumanito, has endowed them with slightly more than is good for them. Appetites, passions, and desires that dilute their talents, common sense and judgment. It doesn't take much. A fraction too much or too little of anger, envy, or lust is enough to create an imbalance in a person's character, to impair his or her judgment and weaken his or her resolution. Is it any wonder, then, given humankind's inherent selfishness and imbalance, that men and women, when put to the test, would prefer safety to risk, ease to toil, certainty to uncertainty, which makes them so conservative that when the opportunity arrives, they tend to indulge their self-interests? Look, that's not fair. Those are survival things. You can't do that. In this and other respects, the Wendigo are men and women, except on a grander, exaggerated scale. Nature has done them a disservice by endowing them with an abnormal craving, creating an internal imbalance to such a degree as to create a physical disorder. The Wendigo has no other object in life but to satisfy this lust and hunger, expending all its energy on this one purpose. As long as its lust and hunger are satisfied, nothing else matters. Not compassion, sorrow, reason, or judgment. Although the Wendigo is an exaggeration, it exemplifies human nature's tendency to indulge its self-interests, which, once indulged, demand even greater indulgence and ultimately result in the extreme: the erosion of principles and values. It is ironic that the Wendigo preys upon and can only overcome ordinary human beings who, like itself, have indulged themselves to excess, and hence illustrates the lesson that excess craves and thrives on excess. Okay. In the following stories, humans must kill the Wendigo to betoken that they must put an end to certain self-serving indulgences or be destroyed. The Nipissing Wendigo story exemplifies this moral. There was once a man, reasonably successful as any other hunter, whose family fell upon hard times during an unusual hot and dry summer, when the berries burned before they ripened. The birds and animals had enough sense to leave to find some other place, but the humans didn't have such an instinct to let them know what was forthcoming, and to take measures to protect themselves. All the humans had was a kind of optimism, a conviction and hope that the conditions could not long remain the way they were. And so men and women remained anchored to where they were, hoping for a change in weather. That winter, the man and his family, like their neighbors, were reduced to eating roots and bark and snowbirds before the winter was half over. Everyone was desperate, but only this one man went to find a sorcerer for a talisman that would enable him to find food and allay his hunger. The sorcerer gave him a powder made of roots with the instruction for him to brew it and drink it as a tea in the morning. In the morning, before anyone else was awake, the man woke up and made a tea, which he drank. Almost at once, he began to grow in height until he was 6 times the height of an ordinary man. For the moment, the man was so absorbed in his growth and height that he forgot his hunger and his family situation. He went forward to try his pace and the length of his stride. The pace of his motion pleased and excited him. He could go faster and cover great distances than any other being alive. He'd be able to outrun most large animals. In his flush of ecstasy, with the advantages and benefits now available to him, the man overlooked the disadvantages and forgot other things. He ran until he was gasping for breath and tired, and he sat down to rest. Only then did he become conscious of his hunger, a reality that he'd temporarily forgotten. His hunger was now greater than before, and having little sustenance before his hard run, The man weakened himself to the point of shaking. He thought of food, but the thought of animal flesh sickened him. Yet he was still hungry. He needed food to allay not only his hunger, but his peculiar, indescribable craving. He needed something at once. It would collapse and waste away, providing fodder for the ravens, lynxes, and wolves. After a short rest, the giant wobbled to his feet and went on. Soon atop the hill, the giant saw a village in the distance. It was a welcome sight. He put his hands to his mouth and hailed to the residents before he waved at them in greeting. His voice so boomed and crackled like thunder that it startled him and so frightened the people in the camp that many dropped in their tracks and died. The giant had meant no harm. All he'd meant to do was let him know that he was in their land and was there on friendly business. But he'd killed many of them, though he didn't know it then, without even laying a hand on them. The rest fled. The giant did not break his stride as he went forward. He forgot his hunger for a few moments as he listened to the echoes of his thunderous voice and saw the stricken human beings kneel over. But his hunger restored him to reality, and the reality made sensible by the aroma of human flesh. In a few moments, the giant was in the encampment. He took a corpse and ate it whole. He grew, but he did not know it. He ate another corpse. He grew some more. His hunger should have diminished, but it didn't. Instead, it was as demanding as before. And he ate until he had eaten all the inhabitants who had died of fright. And he was no less hungry, no better satisfied at the end of his ravenous meal, despite all he had eaten. Without so much as touching any of the meat that had been stored by his victims for future needs, the giant, formerly a man, became a Wendigo. A man of the village survived the carnage only because he had been away when the Wendigo had attacked his people and their homes. Without family or home, the man only had one thing to live for: revenge. He set out at once, following the trail left by the Wendigo. Toward the end of winter, hundreds of miles away, the man overtook the Wendigo, now shrunk in size to the normal stature of an ordinary Wendigo. The man slew the Wendigo in the same way the monster killed his victims, without mercy. With an utter indifference to his cries for mercy or fear or pain, he clubbed the Wendigo to death, leaving the remains to ravens, whoever craved even the flesh of a cannibal. A human being could only become a Wendigo by his or her own excesses. That was the usual way. But one human being could also transform another into a Wendigo. One man asked another man and wife for the hand of their daughter in marriage. The father refused, pointing out that the petitioner had already several wives, more wives than most men, and should not take yet another, lest one of the wives be neglected. The father suggested that the man should think of other men who did not yet have wives. The man took the refusal as an insult, as humiliating as a slap in the face in public. He didn't say anything to the father, but was cut to the quick. As soon as he got home, he made an effigy of the girl with snow and immersed it in water before setting it outside in the cold, where it froze solid. Afterwards, he buried the effigy in ashes, performing a ritual and chanting arcane psalms as he did so. Around the same time, while the girl and her family were camped on the trap line somewhere in the distance from the main village, she complained of being cold, although she did not have a fever and wasn't shivering. She was cold within and outside. It was more than a physical cold that chilled the flesh. This cold chilled the blood, the spirit, and the soul as well. It was a chill that numbed her entire being and made her unbelievably hungry, which was strange because she and her family had just eaten a short time earlier. The family made her a hot broth and hot meal and wrapped her in blankets, but the girl didn't even touch the food, complaining that the smell alone made her ill, that the extra blankets and heat added to her discomfort. She was hungry and wanted food, but not the kind that she'd been accustomed to eating. Something different. At last, unable to stand her hunger, she turned on her own family and with great strength born of desperation, overcame and bludgeoned her family, and then ate them. When the family was overdue to return to the village by several days, the suitor sorcerer volunteered to go in search of them. He found what he hoped to find, as the creator of the new girl and her rescuer. Custom allowed that he could claim the girl as his wife if he wanted to. Damn, well done, Sassy. The girl was in a daze, unable to recall what had become of her family, of whom, other than their few possessions, there was no trace. But her hunger had subsided, and she went meekly with her rescuer. Her introduction into the family, not only as one of the wives, but as the favorite, caused a great deal more friction and unhappiness in the household than already existed. Damn kids need to get off my lawn. Hell yeah. The other women resented the girl and wouldn't talk to her. But they talked about her survival while her family died. The only one who seemed to be happy with the arrangement was the sorcerer, certain that the women in the household would eventually come to terms with the situation and their lives would become stabilized. But relationships in the household did not warm up, as the sorcerer had hoped, and he blamed his newest wife for not making enough of an effort to fit in. The accusation only made matters worse, hurting the girl even more than she was already hurt, and intensifying her loneliness and sense of isolation, even in the company of people. The other women had families to visit and talk with, but she had none. Not even the remembrance of a single one. She had only the vague sense that there was a family, that she must have had someone to love and someone to love her in return. She longed for affection and to care for someone, to belong someplace where she wanted to be. Every chance she had, whenever they were alone, she asked her husband who she was, where she came from, and whether she had kin. But all he would tell her was that he had come upon her in the woods and that she was probably abandoned. Finally, she overcame her fear and asked one of the other women in the sorcerer's household if the women knew who she was or how she might find out. The other women didn't know what to make of such a question. Didn't know if the young woman was putting her on or had actually lost her senses. She retorted sarcastically, "Why ask me? Why don't you ask him? What's the matter with you? Don't you think he'd do anything for you?" The other women hissed, "Ask him." The young woman persisted, explaining that she'd already asked and had not received a satisfactory answer. Now she pleaded for help. But the older women remained adamant. "Ask him again," she barked, imitating her tone, that her husband knew more than he let on. Following the older woman's advice, the younger woman badgered her husband to tell her what she wanted to know. She asked several times a day until her questions drove him to such exasperation that he told her that she'd murdered and then eaten her own family. He said he had kept this fact from her to save her from the guilt, and if it wasn't for his care and protection, other Wendigos and Manitos would have killed her by now. The girl was horrified, but didn't believe the sorcerer's story. She went to the oldest woman in the household and told her what their husband said. The older woman explained that someone had indeed killed her family, and that people suspected she had done it. People were afraid of her. The younger woman went into a depression. She'd killed the people who had loved her and whom she had loved. She no longer had anything, no memories or hopes, nothing but guilt and remorse, loneliness, and self-revulsion. Then an awful hunger settled on her, making her feel as if she had not eaten in several days, and that if she did not eat, she would collapse and die that night. And as the hunger mounted, she forgot everything else. There was nothing else, only hunger. She thought of food, meat, but such thoughts made her nauseous. She wanted nourishment, not ordinary food, but human flesh. Along with this hunger, she was enveloped by a chill akin to one brought home by fear and the onslaught of a sickness. As it settled in, the cold went deeper into her soul and spirit, hard and brittle as flint. She had to get warm or else turn into ice and die. She bundled up and gathered wood, with which she made a fire, and then continued to cast firewood into the blaze until it was an inferno. She stood near the blaze, but it didn't do her any good, and her hunger grew sharper. Finally, she hurled herself into the flames. Those present were horrified. They screamed, they tried to remove her body from the flames, but the heat drove them back. They were driven away from the crematorium by the sight and stench of death. There was no outcry from the girl as she was consumed by the fire, only a hiss and vapor of steam issuing from her body, as it was transformed into carbon, black. In the morning, the sorcerer and his wife sifted through the cold ashes in search of the girl's remains, so they could give her a proper funeral. They uncovered a figurine of a woman in ice, and next to it a figurine of an infant, the unborn child that she had been carrying. In the end, the girl had her revenge. As far as it is known, this is the only case in which a Wendigo killed itself to turn on its creator. All other Wendigos who were slain not so much as a result of the heroism and ingenuity of humans, but as a result of the Wendigo's own personal foibles, indulging their self-interests much like humans eat or drink a toast before the main course, or engage in a period of gloating after a victory before they put the enemy away. They must relish and savor the aroma of the forthcoming meal to enjoy the flavor and savor victory to an even greater degree. Wendigos are no different from humans in this respect. Hold on, I'm reading ahead. Oh yeah, this becomes really preachy. Yeah, I got what was good from this. It talks about how modern Wendigos are now like corporations, which, like, yeah, we know. We know, you don't have to tell us. Corporate America, the real monsters to fear, always. What is this? What is this? Oh, right. Yeah, this is all I've got. I'm just looking to make sure. What does come as a PDF? Sassy, you still there? All right. What I'm gonna do hold on. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Shit. What I will do is let me read. Oh, my voice is dying though. Let me read the story that I wrote for you today. And then what I'll do is I'll cue, since the Lunar New Year is coming, I'll cue the Chinese stuff for next week. Am I drinking water over there? Yeah, this is probably TMI, but my pee is so clear. I've been drinking way too much water. I think because my throat is dry, and I think it's like I'm off my birth control pills because they're not working. So my body is like really confused right now. Alright, here we go. Why hiking trails make you pay for parking? I know, creative title. I used to really not understand why national parks and hiking trails charge for parking. Like, okay, I get it for nature centers, right? Because they have programs educating kids and adults about nature. And often have educational animals that can't be released to the wild to take care of. That's expensive, I can get that. But charging people to park, to hike on state-protected or federally protected land, I just didn't understand that at all. Keeping myself on my toes? God damn it. I wish doctors understood what the fuck was going on with my body. I just didn't understand it at all. That was until I joined the Park Service as a maintenance worker. I'm not going to talk about how I ended up with a job like that. I'm just going to tell you what I learned. And then I'm going to go somewhere. I don't know where. Wherever I can. Bermuda, Nepal, Australia, I don't know. Somewhere they won't be looking for me or for breaking NDAs and then some. The job description basically said I would be maintaining the trails, keeping the ways clear, and helping to direct volunteers and laborers as needed. Fine. The ranger showed me around, got me acquainted with what I needed to know, and for a while the job was normal. Apparently the fellow who had the job before me just kind of retired. He was an old fellow who moved down south, where the winters weren't so cold, but rangers were friendly enough. Then the end of the month came, and the funds collected from the parking meters and recreational permits and state membership allocations were anxiously tallied up by the park manager. A short woman with sharp, clear blue eyes behind thick half-moon glasses. Her dirty blonde hair tied up in a severe bun. The lines from the sun and age on her face accentuated by the glaring lamplight at her desk. That contrasted the relative dimness of the park office. The rangers fidgeted a little, adjusting their uniforms, and even other members of the building maintenance people could feel the tension. You see, it was February, the least popular hiking month. Money was tight for whatever it was we needed it for, and I could see the jaw working, the back teeth against each other in the manager's mouth. Before came a sigh of relief. We've got enough. Yeah, y'all don't have to pitch in this time. Whew, this was cutting it close. What do we need the money for? I asked naively. I just checked the trails. There's no repairs needed for falling trees or anything like that. Hold on a minute. The manager grumbled. All the temp job rangers and such are out for the day, right? It's just us usual suspects. Her usual dry sense of humor seemed wavery. Her gruff voice, often rough like bark, softened with what had to be anxiety. Yeah, it's just us here for the long haul. An older ranger grumbled, scratching under his short graying beard. It was Ranger Mitch. From what he told me, he practically grew up on these trails. He seemed tense, but not like everyone else. He seemed like he'd been through this 1,000 times before, and he probably had. Well, you signed the contract, she sighed. So, not a word about this to anyone, capiche? Yeah, of course, I agreed, sounding much more genuine than I felt. What's all this about? Are you sure we don't have any repairs, maintenance costs, anything like that? She pressed. Are you absolutely positive? Yeah, we're good, I reiterated. All right then, you're dismissed. Thank you for staying late, she replied, a little tersely. Obediently, I walked out of the park offices, which was just a glorified cabin. But I stayed below the outside window, listening, before going to my car to go home. Thank goodness we had enough saved over from the summer months. The manager sighed. Fucking state cutting our fucking funding again. But we're fine, and the income will pick up next month in March like it always does, Ranger Samantha assured. I could hear the reassuring smile in her voice. You're gonna get gray hairs, Irene. So which thing are we picking up? Ranger Mitch asked, his voice a little impatient. And who's taking it to him this time? There's only 6 options. Not many people stay in the same job like this for so long. It was Irene, the manager, Ranger Mitch, Ranger Samantha, Ranger Walter, Ranger Joyce, and Ranger Scott. Well, I know you want to get home, so go, Irene sighed. Walter, you down? Never mind a night hike, the good-natured fellow replied. He had the voice of a smoker, or maybe just getting a little hoarse with age, and shouting enthusiastically about nature all the time and teaching folks about the environment. The dude could sell you salt water in the ocean, but wouldn't and tell you that you were getting ripped off. What am I picking up? Well, by her penny counting, I'm guessing it's not blood again, Samantha interjected. That's free, but inconvenient. Thank goodness for that blood drive last time, Joyce interjected. Yeah, that made logistics and, well, everything a lot easier, Irene grumbled. Nah. The dice tell me it's Cabernet Sauvignon. And remember, it's gotta be the luxury brand or else. Well, you remember when Scott skimped out that one time. That was 15 years ago. You still gonna bring it up? Oh, whoops, wrong accent entirely. That was 15 years ago, and you're still gonna bring it up? I can't drawl, apparently, right now. Scott's gravelly drawl complained, sounding like a particularly offended cowboy. Just saying, since we're cutting it close this month, we still can't skimp, Irene retorted. I got this, no worries. Walter chuckled, and I heard Walter walking over to Irene's desk to take the money. With that, I quickly withdrew from the window, got in my car, and drove a distance away. My head was spinning. Why the hell would they need wine? Why was it so urgent? Why did they need blood at some point? Now, if I were smart, I would have just driven away and not thought about it. I would have driven away and not thought anything of it anymore. Just assume there was some sort of strange sense of humor you get when you're in the parks department for too long. But I am not a clever fellow. I pulled off into the shoulder and turned my lights off. It wasn't a particularly well-lit road, but I waited for about 20 minutes before pulling back onto the road, turning around and parking in the corner of the park's parking lot. I turned off all my lights and waited. The parking lot was empty. All I could listen to was the cold wind whistling in the pines, and the bare tree branches and the twigs, the rustling of fallen leaves and the calls of owls in the distance. I wanted to turn the radio on just to soothe my nerves, but I couldn't bring myself to. After 10 minutes, I started to doubt whether I'd understood anything properly. I started to feel like a fool. That maybe whatever was going on wasn't going to happen tonight, but that it was all in my head. Just then, I saw headlights as Walter's truck pulled in and parked right by the trail. He got out, a thick reusable shopping bag slung over his shoulder, and started off to the trail. Very quietly, I got out of my car and followed him at a distance. I knew the trails pretty well, but I didn't know them at night with low light. I followed the light of Walter's headlamp as best I could, but the dude was fast for his age. And I was slowed down by stubbing my toe and nearly tripping over roots and rocks and unexpected slopes that normally I would be able to see. Don't get me wrong, I love hiking, but hiking at night is different. It was frightening. Every shadow, every rustle, every slip of my boot into or across the mud or loose leaves made my chest tight. I guess the rustling and all this was close enough to baseline. Walter didn't pick up on me. Maybe he was getting hard of hearing as his age wasn't getting much younger. Or maybe it was the gentle but not quiet clunking and jangling of multiple wine bottles in his bag. Sometimes I followed him more by ear than by eyes. Finally, his steps slowed to a stop, and I realized we were quite a bit off the trail by now. We were at the base of a massive tulip tree, its ancient trunk towering, its bare branches reaching its gnarled, knotty grasp up toward the black and gray sky. He muttered a few words and took out a bottle of liquor, uncorked it, and spilled the whole thing onto the earth at the base of the tree, before slowly backing away and continuing on his way, the remainder of the bottles clanging like sinister, muted church bells. He turned briefly to watch, as I did from hiding in the brush, as a symbol lit up on the trunk of the ancient tree, glowing a soft blood red, a figure 8, from it emerging a double cross. I smelled a whiff of sulfur, and then the ground, where the wine had been spilled, began to grow hazy, with what was either steam or gray smoke, curling, twisting, dancing in the crimson light. Walter shivered and kept walking, seeming to utter a sigh of relief. I followed him, not eager to be left alone with whatever was here. Indeed, the woods around us were getting louder, chittering and whispering of undiscernible things, raspy like the sound of bones rubbing together, whistly like the half-ethereal calls of thrushes, rattles, rumbles, hums. I hurried along, too afraid to think, to make sense of anything. Walter made several other stops like this. One before a large stone, where another symbol glowed a lime green into the rock. Through the lichen and the moss, of 3 swirls meeting into one. And again, the ground smoked and steamed, and it got louder. I felt presences creeping in, attracted to this sacrifice. Then, to a willow overlooking the creek, whose symbol was what I could only describe as a snowflake burned into the wood turquoise. Walter emptied that bottle into the creek, and instead of smoking and steaming, the water itself ran louder, and the wind picked up. He made more hurried steps to get away from that sight that time, and I stumbled behind, more fascinated than I was before, but still horrified, and becoming more and more aware that Walter was my only decent ticket back to my car. I glanced behind me despite myself, and I saw 2 large yellow orbs, blackened in the center, and around them a long snout, somewhat like a hound if hounds had scales and stag horns and really, really long snouts, and tentacle-like feelers emanating from their nose. Beyond the monstrous face, a huge winding body of scales, larger than any anaconda I'd ever seen, was lifting from the stream. There was no malice in the eyes, only curiosity, maybe slight condescension. But I scrambled and staggered away. Walter took us next to a small lake deep in the woods, one not led to by any trails for some reason. Heck, I don't even know if it was on the map. Oh. Ooh. I'll read that one next. Maybe next week, but I will read it. Fuck, where was I? Walter took us next to a small lake deep in the woods. One not led to by any trails or for some reason. Heck, I don't even know if it was on the map. It had to be. I tried to remember before adrenaline took my mind from it. Now is not the time to try to recall maps. Walter dumped the contents of the bottle directly into the lake, which, unlike the creek, did start to become misty and foggy and hazy. It looked like the movement of thousands of small little entities shifted under the water, rushing toward the dark liquid offered. And the air grew loud with the calls of thousands of things again. This time, Walter turned around and nearly saw me. "God's this place," he muttered. "Maybe I'm getting too old for this. Well, one more to go and we'll talk to Irene later." Probably not. With that, he plodded away as tendrils of mist and steam rose toward the land, and wrapped itself ecstatically around branches of trees and stems of lakeside plants. I followed more carefully now, trying to calm my pounding heart. Even in the night air, I wasn't cold, only clammy. I'm sure I was cold and too full of fear to feel it. My muscles ached, though. The tiredness, at least, I was getting to be aware of. Finally, Walter led us to a clearing, a ring of trees all growing, vines circling overhead like a halo, a thick canopy. Though, within the ring, was oddly bare. He took out the final bottle, swinging round with its empty brethren, and hesitated, slowly turning around and seeing me, nearly blinding me with his headlamp. "What the fuck are you doing all the way out here?" he hissed, eyes wide. I don't know," I stammered. "I thought someone was following me. Shit." He sighed. "Are you hurt? Are you okay? What's this about?" I'm fine, just shook." I was gonna ask you the same thing. He smiled sadly. I guess you overheard our meeting last night. I guess you overheard the meeting, huh? He sighed. Yeah, that's how I got my long-term position, too. And the fact that even if you try to tell people any of this, no one's gonna believe you anyway. Why? Why? Hey, can we talk about this over coffee after I'm done with this? Walter pleaded. It's cold, and I don't want to be out here longer this night than I have to be. Especially on a night like this. Yeah, I agreed. But by all means, do what you're doing. He took a deep breath and poured the last of the bottles out, and very quickly skirted away, walking hastily back to where I assumed the trail was. I glanced behind me long enough to see in gold the outline of a ram's head glow on the ground, the entire area becoming hazy and blurry in the mist. There was a deep rumbling, vibrating, like thunder that stayed in one place rather than passing through and washing over. And I became acutely aware of how dark these woods were without a lamp. So dark. I scurried to walk just behind Walter, listening to the groaning of swaying trees in the wind. Or at least I hoped. I guess it's your curiosity that got you into your love of nature, Walter chatted, his voice weary but still friendly. Got me too. Some stuff you're better off not knowing, not understanding, but I guess we're already here, huh? Can't undo something when it's done. Yeah, I mumbled. I'm sorry. It doesn't make a difference to me, he assured, glancing at me as we emerged back into the parking lot. I'm already in this. I feel worse for you. His eyes were sad as he reached for his keys and opened the cabin, switching on the lights. The clock told me it was a little after midnight. We'd been out there for a while. The normally woody, homey scent of the cabin wasn't comforting, nor was the coffee from the coffee machine that Walter wasted no time turning on once we were in. He closed the door and locked it behind me. Just in case, he explained. When we're done here, just get in your car and drive away, okay? Don't stick around any longer. I just want an explanation, I mumbled. None of this makes any sense. It makes a lot of sense. That's the worst part. Walter sighed. Hiking is not just walking. It's connecting with nature, with your body, with your spirit. At least for a lot of people. Nature does a lot of good for a lot of folks. But there's more to nature than what's in your biology textbooks. Especially these days, the stewards of nature, those that help, like you and I, to keep it pure and alive and balanced, they get angry. They lash out. People go missing. Animals get sick or rabid. Folks start getting uneasy feelings or start going insane. The coffee maker's grinding electrical noises that I hadn't even registered suddenly gave way to silence, like the noise just walked over a cliff and disappeared. Walter took his steaming mug and poured some into a small teacup for me. I gratefully downed it as he sipped at it. I was feeling the cold. I was shaking like a leaf. I wasn't aware of it until the bitter, hot liquid met my lips, but as soon as I swallowed, I hoped that it would defrost the inside of me. So those of us who run the parks, we make deals with the powerful stewards, he went on. Some of us divine what sacrifices they want to keep them happy and content and well-behaved. And then others of us get what they need. The Native American peoples probably intuited some of this, kept them happy before through rituals. Some of those tricks still apply, some don't. The system's been working for about 25 years or so. Even I don't know everything that's been sacrificed. I just know that if we don't, or we do it wrong. He closed his eyes. It's not pretty. It's not great. Oh, was all I could think to say. Don't tell anyone you saw any of this, or you'll You'll end up a permanent fixture here, Walter explained. I like you, so I'm gonna do you a solid and keep this between us, but maybe skip town. Get far from here. I know you don't want to stay here forever, so your best shot is just to get out now. Before you say anything, before anyone knows you know anything, before you piss anything off, before just... He looked at me again with a sorrowful look. Before this stuff eats more of your life than it has to. Thank you, Walter, really. I don't really know if I'm doing you a favor, he admitted. I hope this doesn't catch up to you. There's a lot about this I don't understand, and I don't know if you angered anyone or anything during the feast or anything like that, or if something took an interest in you. I just don't know. You don't even have any protection on you. Fuck. What protection? Amulets, a cross, anything? He replied, almost pleading. I pulled the cross on the chain around my neck in front of me and showed him. Thank God he at least had something. I finished my coffee cup, holding the cross a little tighter to my chest. I should probably go. Yeah, I should too. We put the dishes in the sink in the office kitchen. Walter told me he'd do them tomorrow. We said goodbye for a last time, then rushed to our cars, not running, but hurriedly. Walter locking the office behind us. The air was loud. I heard energy moving in the woods. When I got to my car, I slammed the door shut and stayed with my hands trembling on the steering wheel. My spine felt tingly, and I felt tired. Bone tired. I turned on my headlights, roared the engine to life, and wasted no time rushing off into the nearly empty highway, sighing in relief at the sight of street lamps. But yeah, that's why you pay for parking. Good luck out there. It's short and sweet, but I had to write it. Alright, I have a little more energy. Let me see how long this is. Thank you. Oh, this isn't too bad. I could probably read this. This is from No Sleep. It's titled, I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, and I have some stories to tell. Oh, several little stories in each post. Ooh. Not sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been an SAR officer for a few years now. Along the way, I've seen some things that I think you guys would be interested in. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time, they just wander off the path or slip down a small cliff and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing and don't wander far. But I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. The parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the Bear Man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet. That he wanted to play with her brother for a while. Ooh. Last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the Bear Man and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found trace of another human being in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear. And he had a weird face. We searched that area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on. But we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest and never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name, before they called for help. Again. We searched everywhere, and we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she possibly could have gone. But neither her mom or Grandpa saw her come down. A few times I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs. Not hills, not even rock faces. Straight, sheer cliffs, with no possible handholds. It was always baffling, and in those cases we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff, or miles away from where the canine has led us. I'm sure there's explanations, but it's sort of strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. Oh, that's nightmare fuel. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, new fear unlocked. It was a complete freak accident, but I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance, and she let out the most haunting, heartbroken wail I've ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and part of her died with her daughter. I heard from another SAR officer that she killed herself a few weeks after it happened. She couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. I was teamed up with another SAR officer because we'd received reports of bears in the area. We were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip when he was supposed to. We ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. I might not appreciate the turkey trail then. Oh no, I'll be fine. Okay. Oh, confession time with Wolfie. Leaves are slippery. Not individually, but when the ground is coated with leaves, like layers of leaves that are not like glued down by being wet necessarily, or they're just leaves upon leaves upon leaves, it's slippery. Wolfie handles... I'm less afraid of heights than I am afraid of slipping. Still a little afraid of heights. But scared of slipping. So what Wolfie sometimes does is when I feel threatened in terms of slipperiness, I will get down on my butt and I will just slide my ass down whatever I'm trying to navigate. Because if I am on my butt, I cannot fall over and die. I can only fall over into where I'm already down. Scoot, scoot, yeah. If I don't feel like that's possible, it's always possible with ice. But when it's like with leaves and shit, I will drag my feet across the ground and kind of just shuffle in like the dorkiest way possible to ensure that I know what my feet are hitting, even though I cannot see the actual curvature of the ground in front of me. So sometimes I do very dorky shit to avoid falling if my brain tells me, oh, you might fall. And I would say, like, 8.5 times out of 10, it's a complete overreaction. So, if you ever hike with me, I will sometimes do that, but not habitually, but probably more often than you'd expect me to. Because I don't want to fall off of cliffs or into water. Like, I can swim, but if I'm not sure, like, if I'm not sure how safe it is and or don't want to die of hypothermia, like, I'm a pretty good swimmer, but, like, fuck. I don't, like, if there's water I don't want to end up in and I feel like I could fall in, or just a really long drop, you will see me utilize the scoot. You just will. Will I be embarrassed? Absolutely. But I'll also be alive. Interestingly enough, I also get the same sensation at sports stadiums that are really high up but are like sloped. For some reason, my brain doesn't realize that I can't fall up and over the ledge because it's at an angle. So I will also attempt to get the closest I can to scooting down things if I'm like on the second level of like a stadium or something, which is just the dumbest error my brain could, not the dumbest error my brain can come up with. There's plenty of dumb, but it's up there at like stupid shit that my brain does to like be like, oh, you're gonna die, don't do this. It's like, okay, thanks brain. I may laugh. I tried my best not to, but I never seem to win that battle. Honestly, so long as you laugh with me, and we can joke about it and make it a meme, and, like, you don't, you know, stab a knife into my feelings, we'll be fine. It's okay to laugh. I'll probably laugh as well. Like, trust me, I know it's ridiculous. I know it's dumb. It doesn't seem to stop me, though. Oh. But I'm also alive, so who knows? I don't know, man. Yeah, no. I will, if you laugh, I will probably also laugh. I might ask you how you normally do this. I might try to learn tips from you as to not be stupid and afraid of slipping, because it's not even the height that necessarily gets me, it's the fear of losing my balance and falling. Because, like, I don't know, man, my brain's fucking weird. Yeah. Ended up having to do some serious climbing to where we figured he'd be. We found him trapped in a small crevasse with a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there for almost 2 days, and his leg was obviously infected. We were able to get him into a chopper, and I heard one of the EMTs that the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and when he'd gotten to the top, a man had been there. He said the guy had no climbing equipment. He was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said he had no face. It was just blank. He freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he had fallen. He said he could hear the guy all night climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. Grip with your toes and bend at the knee? Oh, I do. I do, and then my turtle brain is just like, no, that's enough, you're gonna fall anyway. I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, I already have a low center of gravity. This is like, no, we're gonna fall. Okay. Thanks, brain. Oh. Yeah. Bending at the knee, I almost never lock out my knees anyway. I usually keep my knees bent because, I don't know. I don't like locking out my knees, but I don't know, man. I think I have an anxiety disorder. I think that's really what it is. Oh, Sassy, thank goodness you're a good friend. What? No. Right? Nobody here deals with that. Oh, certainly. Certainly neither of us are taking medication or that sort of thing. Interestingly enough, this Zoloft doesn't seem to affect that, though, but apparently there's a whole bunch of shit that Zoloft doesn't affect. For instance, me hearing shit is apparently not affected by how much Zoloft I take, which is great. Oh, and frustrating to my psychiatrist. She's just like, oh, we doubled the dosage and you're still hearing it? I'm like, yep. And she's just like, oh, that sucks. I guess we'll take you back down to 25. And I'm like, great. I'd love to be awake. Oh. Yeah, so turns out, despite being on medication, I'm still gonna be anxious. Sometimes about dumb shit. Rip. Yep. That was my reaction. I was like, okay. I can't say I'm surprised. Cool. I'm so used to it. It was funny because it came up because, like, my psychiatrist, like, my normal one went on maternity leave, so I had, like, this other one. And she asked, like, a whole different set of questions. And one of them was, like, do you hear shit? And, like, my dumb ass answered, yeah, but, like, not unusual. Like, you know, just the usual of people calling my name, or, like, I think I hear people crying and then I investigate and they're fine, and shit like that. And she's just like, oh, that's not normal. And I was just like, it happens occasionally. And she's just like, that's probably a result of, like, your anxiety. Let's, like, double your dosage and see if that helps at all. And I'm like, okay. You can try. So yeah, she doubled my dosage and it didn't do shit. All it did was make me tired. So, that one hit dog. Oh. Although, no, the problem is if I would take more of it, I would be sleepy and less confident in my ability to regulate my balance. It's a cluster, no matter what you do. It's just the whole thing's a clusterfuck. Alright, back to the story. Sorry, jeez. Anyway. One of the scariest things I've ever had hiking... Whoops. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search of a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and pack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to the base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking us why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within sight of base ops, the woman turns to me and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck. It's mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says it, I hear that weird coughing right in my ear. I just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left the area that night. This last one I'll tell. It's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try. asking about it with other SAR officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't seem even weird anymore. On just about every case where we... Whoops. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll just find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and other officers just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now, and I run into them because it happens so frequently. I have a lot more stories, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some of them tomorrow. If anyone has any theories about the stairs, or if you've seen them too, let me know. Let's see. How much is the second one? Holy shit. A lot longer. There's a part 3. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a multi-parter. Because it is already... It is already getting late, and my voice is starting to go. But I'm really, really glad that you liked the story I made for you. It's no Quoth Bob, but it'll do. To be fair, Quoth Bob is really hard to top. But with that, I'll probably stream tomorrow. For those of you who celebrate, Happy Chinese New Year. I love when I inspire greatness. Now time for a rest. Hell yeah. You inspire greatness a lot. And I'm not just saying that because you make heaven cake. But you do. And that's just another reason why I love you. In the meantime, do not eat or drink any questionable substances. Make smart decisions to not die. Dying is absolutely forbidden, and I will see all of you wonderful people. At a later time. Take care, guys.